therapy.
Yes, that's a big one.
The question, I wanted you to kind of...
I have a lot of friends that are therapists.
Yeah.
And my friend in Leucadia, she took my art and the self class, the DreamArt, and she became a therapist. And recently we talked, and she said, I wonder if I should really go into art therapy. And I said to her, well, the reason I don't like art therapy, and when I see what comes out of it, is not really art. And she goes, Thea, this is why. She has this lovely French accent. I love to listen to her. She said, it's all about this symbol. A person puts something together and then the therapist works with that. What does this symbol mean to you? And they dig at it and they really work at it. Like a therapist would work with a dream. They could spend hours, like in group. I know some really great dream workers. And one lives in Australia. He comes down to give workshops at Pacifica. And anyway, so she said, it's about the symbol, and then you work with that. You could work with it for a long time to get to the bottom of it. Okay, so why do people pick these images? So what I do in my classes with dream work, we don't dig at it. We might say to the person, what does it mean to you? Or how does this help you? Or how does this help you be creative? But we don't overanalyze. We keep it open-ended, and it unfolds. Like artwork unfolds for you. You know, a person might not even like a piece of art, and they come back later and then they start liking it. Something starts to happen, and it's a natural process. It's related to art in its pure form, to the archetypes, to how it affects you, right? And we don't go in digging at it, which to me, art is very close to shamanism, because in shamanism and healing, you don't analyze. You don't even have to go back to the wound, but you need your power back.
Oh, that's
the
a big
secret of shamanism, right?
Yes.
I've had a person that had like 25 years of therapy, and she knew her problem inside and out.
She could talk about them.
Yeah, and when we talked, she said to me, but I never got my power back.
Wow.
So I think a person can be empowered by their artwork without having to overanalyze it.
Yes.
See, there's a little difference there.
It's a big difference, actually. It's almost like you're talking therapy kind of pokes it and prods it.
Yeah, and you have to dig at it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fascinating. I like that. So art is empowering, so that's what you teach, empowerment, and shamanism is empowering.
Yeah, there's a close relationship there. And it's probably not an accident that in the olden times, the shaman was also the artist of the tribe. When you think of the cave paintings 50,000 years ago, those were the shamans that did those cave paintings. They painted the animals and the spirit helpers.
Do you feel, I know you're a teacher and a shaman and a painter.
And an artist.
But do you feel that everybody can do art and art is for all people?
I believe that everybody has certain talents. Okay.
Yeah.
And I believe anybody can learn to draw. I had to teach drawing on the right side of the brain. And when that book first came out, people came out of the woodwork. Doctors, therapists, nurses, housewives, anybody. And they learned to draw. It was very exciting. So, anybody can do art. Anybody can have fun with art. And people are drawn to certain kinds of art. And they're better at some things than other things. But talent is a funny thing. Even shamans have talents for certain things. my daughter is a shaman. She can do, and she's a very fine musician. She's traveled all over the world as a musician. She can do certain things I could never do. They're just amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
And we like to exchange notes, you know, and she reminds me of things to do or not do. So, there are certain talents. So, for example, a shaman might have a talent in herbs. Not necessarily, that's not for everybody. I also use my hands as a tool for healing. I can find things with my hands. Because of those few times my uncle in Rotterdam showed me something. So I retained that. I thought, well, I should practice, you know. Besides, everything takes practice.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does, doesn't it?
The daily practice.
There's some wisdom in here. Play, practice.
And go with the flow.
The word after play is practice.
Play and practice. So we're going to go to this amazing retrospective that you had in Long Beach. Tell us about it. Tell us about, you know, just talk about it and like what was the peak experience and where is it going next? And it was a huge thing.
It sure was. It's hard to put it, to explain it. It's again finding the words for all those images and people's reactions to the images. And I think the Calv organization also had a book made for me.
Yeah.
And it has about 40 images in it, some that weren't in the show. And it was interesting. So they ordered 20 books for the opening, and I thought, my God, I hope somebody buys one.
And you were sold out.
Yeah, the first hour. And so,
Wow.
so then we ordered 40 more, and they sold out at my artist lecture. Then we had to order 50 more.
Wow.
And then we had a waiting list that I still have to respond to. So that was interesting, that the reaction for people, somebody said, well, if you can't afford to buy the painting, you can always buy the book. So, but it was a really good response. So for me, okay, maybe I should talk about this. When I started painting my dreams, my friends didn't want to see them.
Interesting.
Maybe they weren't my friends. I don't know. I don't know. But it made me very self-conscious because I thought, what's wrong? I remember there was one painting I did. It was just of a blue pine tree with a sunset behind it. And people were kind of shunning it. And so I sort of hid it behind a door.
Maybe that's how it started. You didn't want to. I mean, there's a relationship, right, happening. It's almost like you're having a relationship, like a face-to-face relationship with this being or whatever is in it.
Yeah. So, and then later, BP Oral came to buy some paintings of mine for the World Trade Center in Long Beach. And they had a space on the 11th floor, and their architect and their manager were looking for paintings, and they bought 4, and that was one of the paintings they bought. And I was hiding behind the door.
Wow.
So slowly I got a little more courage. So I didn't really paint for other people. I realized some artist friend of mine, they didn't even want to talk about what I was doing.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like in the forefront of talking about dreams, at least in Southern California at that time.
So you were one of the
I
pioneers.
couldn't get in an art show.
Interesting.
There's something people were not ready to face, maybe, at that moment in time.
Right. And they couldn't face inner work like that. And you definitely couldn't talk about it. So when I was asked to teach that class, because students were interested, it was like a miracle.
Yeah.
Oh, but you wouldn't believe. It was scary because some of the teachers, it was like this.
Oh.
And one day the head of the department came in and he said, well, you know, I've been hearing rumors
Oh my God.
from the administration that something occult is going on.
Whoa.
Oh.
How interesting.
And you know, I'm not that witty or bright to come up with the answer right away. Usually I have to think about it for 3 days. But something came to me and I asked him, what do you mean by occult? And he couldn't give me good explanation.
Wow.
And then I said, well, if you mean that I have a Native American in my class who shares her rituals with us, and he suddenly goes, he started backing out of the room. He goes, do what you want. And he was out of there.
You know what's interesting? It brings me back to, you said your grandmother was, during the witch burning time, she hid herself.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you hiding your paintings during that time. And then people, there was a sort of a witch hunt in a way.
In a way.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
That's right.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, and after a while I just thought, God, I'm so glad I got to teach this. I would just close the door and we would do our thing, right? Yeah, and then we did performance art. No teacher ever came to it.
Wow.
But that was okay, you
Yeah.
know? I had those students and they were loving it.
Well,
Yeah.
this is amazing. I mean, obviously you're being received now. And what
Right.
a journey.
Right, okay, back to my retrospective show. To put all these paintings up
Uh-huh.
and to have people have a good experience
Right.
by looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many people had an actual experience.
Yeah.
So that was interesting for me to see.
To be the witness.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we found at the Bridge of the Soul exhibition at UCS that there's a need for this. There's a thriving, people really want this. So, what do you feel like what does the future hold for arts and healing in the world?
Okay, I talked about that at the college last night when I was talking about shamanism. Is talking about the invisible. It's you know, if you can't prove it, if it's not scientific. But I talked a little about medicine today. What's missing is the spiritual and mental aspect of the illness. And there's such a need for this, and there are people that are doing research in the medical world right now. But it's so needed, and that's coming very slow, very slow. I'm dealing with a nurse right now who's going through breast cancer, and she goes, she is a midwife type nurse, and she goes, I don't want to go back to it. All we do is give women pills and stay at the computer, and it's very unfeeling. It's not
the
dealing
work
with the
itself.
person.
Wow.
And she's just been so disillusioned because she thought she would be a real midwife, you know?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and so she didn't want to go back to it. But that's hard because that's her living now, you know?
Yeah. How can we change that? How can we make it faster?
Okay, now people definitely need education in the area of art and healing.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, but what do we do when the economy goes down? The first thing that's eliminated are the art classes, right? So, and the music classes, the art classes, the theater classes. So what do? We need to educate people because there's proof. Betty Edwards did at the university. She had a group of students that were just doing reading, writing, and arithmetic, elementary school, and a group that also had drawing, just drawing. And by the end of 2 years, the group that did drawing also did better in their math and science.
Yeah.
You know, we have all that information, so why do they cut it out?
I don't. Yeah, that's a.
But in some areas, we have some progress.
Yeah.
I had a student who wanted to do her master's, and she is teaching middle school here in Long Beach. And she said to me, I want to include spirituality and shamanism into my class. And I'm going, wow, good luck. And she goes, and I want you to be on my committee. And I'm going, oh my God, this will be interesting. So I went and met her department head and her other committee member, and they said, fine. I'm going, what?
Yeah.
The world
There's
is
an
changing in
openness.
some
It
areas,
It's changing.
right?
Yeah.
It is more
And she
receptive.
did her math, and I had to come to her class and take the kids on a journey with my drum. They would lay out on the lawn, and I would take them.
That's fantastic.
And then she would do an art project that would go with that, and it was just fabulous. And she had a lot of guts. You know, in my time, way back, I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in some areas, things
Yeah.
are changing, but we
Yeah.
need a lot more of that.
We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what can we do as artists who are in the arts and healing field? It's education, but it's exhibitions, it's just doing it. But what are some tips for healing artists to change the world?
Right, you have to get politically involved.
I think so, right?
God, it's not the artist thing, is it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
traditions.
well, I've done it,
Yes.
Okay.
You've done it.
and
Yeah.
I'm still doing it.
And you're like you're an example right here.
Right,
Yeah.
and I was also telling her you don't have to call it a shamanic drumming. You can just call it a drumming journey, or you can use the word spiritual easier, and you can do the artwork. And so a lot of students that have come out of my classes that have become teachers, they're doing it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So in a way, they claim their power, like they claim it back to themselves.
That's right.
The power
Yes,
that we all
and,
have.
and it doesn't seem that big an issue for them. I
Yeah.
mean, they were doing it in my class, so they
Right.
think it's natural
Mm.
to carry it over and to do some of it. And most of them do mandala work, sacred art. They teach it to the kids, and they love it.
They do. Like
Yeah.
that sacred geometry is really
Yeah.
important. Yeah. Yeah. Super.
So can you say that all these years that you have been doing this, you are a transformative artist?
I don't really know exactly what that means, but I know that we transform as we go through this journey. We're not the same person that we were before. We're constantly transforming. It's like that creative process I was talking about of growth, and the process of individuation, becoming more of who you are.
With the
Super.
artwork itself, right?
That's right. Yes.
So you're in our exhibition, Bridge to the Soul. How is art a bridge to the soul?
It is soul work.
It's soul work.
Yeah. And then what I
Inner
wanted to
work.
point out, that I haven't created anything original. These things have existed probably 50,000 years ago when a shaman painted on a cave wall. And I love what Newton said in the area of science, and I feel that way what I've done with art. He said the reason I've seen further than anyone else, when he came up with the law of gravity, he said, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. You know, and I feel some of my mentors and some people I've learned from in history, they were giants. Some of the great artists, they were giants. And so we're constantly learning from these great figures.
So a lot of ancestral lineage that you
They're
have
your
been
lineage.
working and that
Yes.
have been working through you.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Super. Anything
Beautiful.
else we want to add to the mix?
Oh, there's also that wonderful thing that Jung talks about in
Yeah.
Discovered the Collective Unconscious. It's like something that I was drawn to show at the LA County Museum quite a few years ago, The Spiritual in Art.
I have that book.
Yeah, isn't that great? And those are the symbols that are used in mandalas. Those are universal. And some of these artists were not in touch with each other.
Right.
Like Af Klimt, she lived in Sweden and she had no contact with the mainland of Europe, and she was doing the same symbols. and then America
it's
at the
connected.
same time. Russia, all at the same time, they came up with these symbols in the spiritual and art. And that's so amazing. So in a way, there's something working on us.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Yeah, that's in the collective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's magical. It's carpe diem. It's like seize the moment in life. And life is art. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just be open, huh?
Yeah.
Be open.
Okay, thank you.